How's that? How's that? How's that? Great. That'll work much better for the people watching on live stream. Hello, friends on live stream. So let's begin today. So first of all, I have to welcome my friend Wendy. She came to the workshop. She's not a member of Unity on the River, but Wendy and I go way back. She and I worked together when I was a professional development trainer here in Massachusetts, and just always enjoy our work together. So she's not a member of Unity on the River, so make sure she feels very, very welcomed. So hi to my friend Wendy.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. So how I like to start these workshops, because we've just kind of finished having a lot of thoughts together, and emotions of the talk that I gave, I like to just begin, because generally it's something that you heard in the workshop that had you really motivated to want to stay and hear a little bit more and go a little bit deeper. So I want to begin there. What was it that you heard in the workshop, or what did you hear in the workshop that kind of stuck with you? I'm sorry, not the workshop, the talk, that you'd like to go a little bit deeper on or hear a little bit more about, or, what stayed with you from the talk? Yeah.
Well, just the whole piece about raising your vibrational energy.
Yeah.
You talked about, mental consciousness energy.
Yes.
And heart energy. And there was a third thing that I kind of missed.
Imagination.
Imagination.
Yeah. So, Linda, do we have a mic? All right, can you maybe see if you can find one, just because there's people live streaming. So, and what's your name? Tom. So, Tom said what caught his attention is just this whole notion of consciousness, our mental vibration, our emotional vibration, and then the third one is kind of using that mental and emotional vibration, putting it into the field of infinite potential through the spiritual use of imagination. We can talk more about that in the talk today, but you raise an interesting point, Tom, because a lot of people use this word consciousness, but not a lot of people really understand what that means or what it is. So can I have a handheld just so when people are speaking, I can give it to them? Awesome. Come on in. Hi. Yeah, I couldn't find it. The one that I had earlier wasn't the right one, Brian said. It was the... Yeah. Okay, well... You need a handout. So this whole notion of consciousness is something that has, honestly, I've been a consciousness teacher for about 15 years, and 15 years ago, people weren't even really thinking about energy and consciousness as much. So back then, it was like, I had to find all these other ways to kind of talk about energy and consciousness, because people's eyes would glaze over and they'd be like, oh, that's just that woo-woo new age stuff. And that's not the case any longer. It's not the case any longer. Consciousness finally now is a thing. And still, even though it is now a thing, there's still not a real strong understanding of what we mean by that word. Do you agree with that? So let me just start there. I want to talk a little bit about how I use the word consciousness in my teaching and in all of my talks. So how I use the word consciousness is to mean the vibratory pattern, the sum total of the vibratory pattern of four things. Who knows them? Who's read my books? Beat. It's your beat. B-E-A-T. I say your beat creates your vibe, your consciousness, that creates your life. Remember I said in my talk that the quality of your life will be a direct reflection of the vibratory level of your consciousness. But what does that actually mean? So your consciousness, the vibratory pattern of your consciousness is made up of four things. Your beat. What are they? Beliefs, emotions, attitudes, and thoughts. Okay?
Four letters of the word beatific.
Beatific? Which means what?
Holy, sainted.
Means wonderful, yeah.
Holy.
What?
Holy.
Holy means holy. Oh, right, beatify a saint. Yeah, they haven't done that for me yet. Yeah, I know. Too many F-bombs. Too many F-bombs. There's still time. Yes, got to have a goal. Got to have a goal. All right. Awesome. Thank you. So it's the... Great. Okay. The vibratory pattern of your beliefs, emotions, attitudes, and thoughts. So... I use that example of the leadership class that I was teaching this week where everybody's like, yeah, this is awesome. I'm such a high vibe person. I'm just, I'm passionate and I love what I do. It's just them that's the problem, which immediately tells you that you're not necessarily a high vibe person because you're locating your experience in life outside of you. Or myself. Being a consciousness teacher, understanding that our thoughts are creative, that our words are instructive and create in the vibratory pattern of the universe, and saying to my yoga instructor, oh yes, I'm so sore, I'm getting old, and all of those things. So it's so ingrained in us that the work for us to do is really, it's moment to moment. I'm going to teach you a 3-step process today that I promise you it's grounded in science and can literally change the structure and functioning of your brain. And it's so ridiculously simple that you're going to think it can't be true. But simple and easy are not the same thing. Yeah, right? You've noticed. Yeah. Simple and easy are not the same thing. A lot of life principles are really very simple, but they are not easy to consciously and consistently internalize and be lived by. Awesome. So, are we on board? What is consciousness? It's the vibratory pattern of your beliefs, emotions, attitudes, and thoughts. So the way you think creates a vibratory pattern. The way you feel creates a vibratory pattern. What's underneath that is the things that you believe and the attitudes that you hold. So it's this one field of energy. We'll get more into that as we go. Thank you, Tom. Anything else you want to add?
How do you fix it?
Yeah, good. That's where we're going today. So how many other people want to know that? Like, okay, good, I get that, but how do you fix it? Okay, good. I can't wait. I'm so excited about that. All right, somebody else. What stuck with you from the talk, or why is it that what you came here for? What do you want to get out of it? Here, and then behind you to Peter.
I'm just grateful that you reminded me a lot of stuff that I already know and I keep forgetting because I keep getting distracted by all, that is.
Yeah.
Or all that I perceive. I know this stuff, and I forget that I know it. And then someone like you comes along and says, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, so I would invite you to, oh gosh. So I'm a coach, right? So I just can't help myself, like I coach people. So do I have permission to coach you?
Sure.
Awesome. So I would invite you to consider that you don't know it. Hold on. Breathe. Because I'm actually, so I'm talking, what's your first name again?
Carl.
I'm talking to Carl, but who am I coaching? No, not everybody, I'm coaching you. Just you. Just the person wearing your shoes right now, like just you, okay? So I would because we say this all the time, right? Like, yeah, I know that. How do you know that you know something? When you see it reflected in your life. In fact, the entire body of my work stems from the 5th unity principle. It is not enough to know the truth, you must demonstrate truth principle in your life. So when you forget, when you get distracted, when you what's actually happening, Carl, and I know you know this, so let me remind you. What's actually happening is that you're being lived by mass consciousness, because there is only one consciousness that you are an individuation of. So there's consciousness that you are an individuation of. Does that make sense? You can take a bucket of water out of the ocean, but they're still the same thing, just at different scale. Yeah. So they're still the same thing. So you are God consciousness, but when you aren't conscious of being God consciousness, you will be lived by what's happening in the ethers of mass consciousness. Nobody talks like this, but it's so important for you to understand this, which is why being awake and aware every single minute is so critically important. And we're not. I was not awake and aware last Tuesday night at my yoga class saying to my yoga instructor, oh, I'm so achy. Shut up. Do you want to pick up some more?
Well, I like what you said about the water.
Can you move that right up to your...
No,
there.
what you said about the water, because one of my favorite quotes is, not only does the drop become the ocean too becomes the drop. The consciousness goes both ways. Not only does the drop become the ocean too becomes the drop.
Yes.
The consciousness goes both ways. I have long felt that God deliberately has forgotten he is God, so he can have all the panorama of existence and just be each one of us.
Yes.
And maybe that's why we find it so hard to find him because he keeps running and hiding.
Okay,
within
good.
us.
So God, hold on, back up. So first of all, God is not a man.
Oh, an entity. God is conscious.
God is not a man, right? God is the animating life force energy of the universe.
Yes.
We have given God human quality and human form. And see, notice already, Carl is exactly demonstrating to us what I just said. He knows, like he just said, right, God is consciousness. As soon as I interrupted, he came back. He said, God is consciousness, God is energy. But what happens is we're being lived by mass consciousness. That happened one day when I was driving with my son, and it had been pouring down rain for several hours, and he looked at me and he said, God must be really mad that Trump is president because he's punishing us with all this rain. Whoa! Hold up. So his politics, not mine, not going into the politics of that, but hold up, right? So he's been my son forever. I do not teach anything that just came out of his mouth, and he's been raised in a unity church. But what came out of his mouth is, God must be really mad because blah, blah, blah. Therefore, he, blah, 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 is punishing us. I was like, so dude, hold up. God is not a man. Always my first thing. God is the animating life force energy of the universe. Secondly, God does not have human emotions like being angry. God does not get angry. That's in our mass consciousness. And thirdly, God doesn't punish. We punish ourselves. Do you all know the definition of sin in the unity theology? Any thought that separates you from your divinity. That's when you start punishing yourself, right? So notice, what kind of where Carl began is like, I know this stuff. How many of you feel that way too? So it's not the knowing that's the challenge. I know you know this stuff. I don't mean to sound kind of like a bitch, but knowing makes no difference. I'm just saying. It's demonstrating.
Help me with that.
Yeah.
Because,
Oh, hold on. Let me give you this because there's people watching online and they can't hear you otherwise.
help me with that thought, because what you said to me, or what I heard you say, and actually now I can't repeat what you just said,
It'll come to you. That's okay. It's the microphone. It makes
It's
people
the
dumb.
microphone.
Yeah, I know. It makes people dumb. No, stay with it. It'll come to you. So what I just said was something really interesting, I'm sure.
you challenged my belief.
Say it. Knowing what? Knowing it is not enough.
Knowing that it's not enough, it is not actually knowing.
Oh, right.
That-
Right.
to me,
Knowing
that's-
is not really knowing.
Not knowing is not.
There's a difference between an intellectual concept and embodiment.
Isn't that the first step of learning?
Oh, yeah.
And to then-
Yes,
then
right.
To then acclimate it inside.
Yes.
you.
So I said it makes no difference. Maybe that's what you were. I said no, knowledge makes no difference. It is the first step. And this is what happens. People stop there. Yeah, I know that. Knowing that is your biggest impediment to actually embodying it. Yeah. Yeah, Wendy?
I was recently in a situation the past 3 days, and I used some of Jackie's techniques. Basically, to make a long story short, I was all over the state of Massachusetts for work. I come home, I get a letter from where I live, they won't sell, they only lease, that they want another 30% for where I live. And originally, I was like, my emotions, my intuition, all over the board. And I said, stop, Wendy. The next day, I called and scheduled 5 appointments with 5 other places to look at.
Oh, good for you.
I scheduled an appointment with the property manager, and I figured, okay, what do I really like? I like the shuttle service that takes me to the train station. I like access to 128. The rest I don't care about. I do like the washer dryer, but the rest I can work around. And I finally found upstairs from where I live, there's a unit even cheaper and nicer than what I pay, and legally they have to, put me in the bid. So I went back and forth, and now they're going to come down way down and give me another lease. But now I found out the place a block down the road is nicer, more space, and cheaper than what I pay, and have everything. So if I didn't take Jackie's thing, listen to my consciousness.
Yeah.
I was so worried about change. Oh my God, what am I going to do? Oh my God, how am I going to change my mail? Oh, my car sticker. I went on and on. I'm like, you know what? This stuff can be worked out.
Yeah.
But let's start putting some action points. So 2 months from now, I'm not sitting here calling my mother saying I need to stay with you for 2 weeks.
Yeah. So are you moving?
I'll know Friday. I think
Awesome.
they'll come down. Or I might go up a flight of stairs. But either way, I left myself with some good choices.
You did, and you did that by taking action. All right, so, oh yes, Peter, right, and then we're going to move on.
Yeah, I had planned to come to the workshop anyway, but
Okay.
when you talked about what happened in the yoga studio,
Yeah.
I thought, oh my God, that happens to me.
Yes,
And I've been a student of yours for some time.
a long time, yeah.
And yet I'm still not consistent
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
application.
Yep, good, yeah,
So that's
neither
why
am
I'm
I.
here.
Yeah, neither am I. Neither am I, because I said that crap to the yoga person. I mean, it's even worse. You really want to know how ugly it is? I hate we're live streaming this. How many people are on there? All right, never mind. No, I mean, this is the challenge, the difference between knowing a truth and embodying a spiritual truth. So my son is 14. Need I say more? How many of you have had teenagers before, right? So, with Philip. So when he was 3, he didn't go through the terrible 2s, he went through the terrible 3s. And if I had $1 for every time I said, holding his hands, avoiding his kicking little feet, saying, timeout doesn't start until you're quiet, timeout doesn't start until you're quiet, I could have been a millionaire, because we went through that a lot when he was 3. And I would say to myself, if I win this one, I'm going to win when he's a teenager. Right? Because all of that acting out and temper tantruming, it's the same thing when they're teenagers, they're just in bigger human suits. So he's doing his teenage version of timeout doesn't start until you're quiet, acting out and angry and, all of those things. And I'm a spiritual teacher. I teach that what you think about and how you feel and how you speak creates the vibratory pattern of your life, which attracts the circumstances. So let's just say it got ugly to the point where I was like, do I call the police? What's going to happen? And so I noticed that as things were going downhill, I was saying things to my spouse like, I think we're losing him. I don't know if this is going to be okay. I don't even remember all the stuff that I said. And every time it came out of my mouth, I was like, I got to stop talking that way. I got to stop saying that. And then my sister would call, and I'd say, I think we're losing him. I think he's going down. I'd say the same thing. And I would watch myself saying this shit. And I'd keep saying it. And I was like, okay, this is not worse. So I went into prayer and into meditation. So let's just look at I'm going to come back to the story. Let's just look at the first bullet point on here. What does spiritual living mean? Spiritual living requires that you demonstrate and maintain a clear and consistent commitment to the development of your inner potential. Clear and consistent commitment. So I'm saying this stuff. My sister calls. I text my friend, Nathan, me. Fill in the blank of what I was saying. And I keep seeing myself. So I went into prayer and I made a what? Commitment that I would no longer speak that way, that I would no longer think that way, that I would relate to him in the loving energy that I want to experience. So here's the question that really turned it around for me, and I want to give you this question because I think it's a game changer. I asked myself, how do I want to experience myself as a mother? See, I was all out there about trying to fix him, and what rules does he need, and the safety, and the therapist, and I was out here. But the reality is, you've got to ask yourself, how do you want to experience yourself as, fill in the blank, as a spouse, as a mother, as a teacher, as a human being? How do you want to experience yourself? Because you know what? What I was saying, how I was acting, and I think that's part of this mass consciousness. We all have a little bit of desire for oh, poor you. Oh, poor you. We want people to know how hard it is, how difficult it is. We get some juice out of that. So when I was like, no, but is that how I want to experience myself as a mother? I was like, hell no. So I answered that question for myself. I was able to demonstrate clear and commitment to the development of my inner potential. So I asked myself that question, how do I want to experience myself as a mother? And the answer to that question was, I want to experience myself as unconditionally loving. So how does someone who is unconditionally loving behave? How does someone who is unconditionally loving speak? So that was in the morning, I don't know, last Wednesday or something, probably the day after the yoga teacher corrected me. And then that night, we went through a whole other round of him. I was a therapist for a long time. I'll just say being emotionally dysregulated. All the therapists in the room get what that means. It's just, he was just completely dysregulated, losing his freaking mind, yelling, and so I handled it. My spouse is deaf, profoundly deaf. She's upstairs in bed, and I finally, get the whole thing. And standing in my space of being unconditionally loving, got him to bed, went to bed, and Heather looks at me, and she's like, well, how'd it go? How's Nathan doing? I was like, yeah, it was really great. He's doing the best he can. And I was really loving. She's like, good for you. That's awesome. And she fell asleep. Over the next several days, I got in touch with this therapist, I got in touch with the school, did all of those things. But I did all of that from the energy of, I want to experience myself as unconditionally loving. And so I would only speak to him in that way. And so he would maybe do a little bit better, like, hey, this is awesome. I really see how hard you're trying. You're doing a little bit better every day. This is awesome. I almost canceled my talk today. I almost didn't come. Because about a week ago, I was like, I'm not sure it's safe for me to leave, because I'm kind of the rule setter. Not that that surprises any of you. And I was a little worried, because he's very dysregulated, and my spouse doesn't handle it quite the way that I do. So, so over the course of those 4 days, it's been magic. I mean, freaking magical. He's completely regulated. He's doing all the things that were all the upsets about, just have completely disappeared. And I promise you, what happened is that I altered the vibratory pattern in myself, therefore that altered the vibratory pattern in our physical home environment. Your vibe isn't just like in you, it's actually about 4 to 6 feet around you. So I just started speaking loving, being loving, making eye contact, touching him more, being more attentive, only speaking to my spouse and to other people like, hey, he's really doing the best he can. So that's what it means to demonstrate something. Before that, I shudder to think where that was going to go, because I was in it. I wasn't creating it. I was at the effect of it. Do you know what I mean by that? I was completely at the effect of it. This thing was happening out here that I felt powerless over, and I spoke as if that was the reality. No. You've got to speak the reality that you want to see. See, that's what we're like, well, you can't just make it up. Yes, you can. You can just make it up. Now you don't walk around saying, like, I'm a millionaire married to a rock star. Like, not that. But you speak the conditions that you want to experience. How do you want to experience yourself? And then go act that way. It's a game changer, but it requires a degree of clear, consistent commitment that I think many of us miss out on. Anybody want to say anything to that?
It's a book.
It's a book?
Next book.
Textbook.
No,
Oh, my next book. Oh, I'm writing 2 right now. God help me. Yes, I'm writing 2 books right now. One is I'm writing with Nancy Langmeyer, actually, called Love Vibe. She generated that because she wants to write the book, and she wants to use my money vibe stuff to write it. And I was like, all right, fine, you do the lion's share. So I'm working on a book on relationships called Love Vibe. And then I'm working on this other one that's my pet project called 101 Ways to Raise Your Vibe. Yeah, right? Isn't that fun? If any of you have any, email them to me. So I'm up to about 65. But I don't yet have 100. Anyway, that was an aside. But yes, right? It's a book. This is how you do it. This is how you shift. So, anybody else want to say anything about that? Yeah. Hold on. Let me give you the microphone.
Hi. The problem I run into is I realize I caused this. It's kind of like what Abraham Hicks says.
Yep.
You did do this, and that's what trips me up in the moment. Like, with your son, I have a daughter who absolutely, despises me. But then I came to the realization that it's me that's causing that.
Yeah.
But I still can't fix it, so to speak.
No, you can't fix it, but, and I'll use the phrase and then I'm going to back up off of it, but you can fix yourself. But, so then let me back up off that phrase, because there's nothing about you that needs to be fixed at all, right? And there may be things about your beliefs, emotions, attitudes, thoughts, / personality. You know, if you boil down like the dysfunction in any relationship, there are some beliefs that you have come to that are not giving rise to the experience that you want to have. And I can tell you all of what they were for me. With that situation with my son, I'm not going to go into it because it's my life, not yours. But that's what you've got to start looking at. When you have a relationship or a financial situation or a work situation, fundamentally, that's not going well, that's not the highest and best that you want to experience. Fundamentally, you have a belief, emotion, an attitude, and a thought about it that's giving rise to that experience. I thought I heard feedback. Yeah.
So, is this on? I can't tell.
It is
Okay,
on, yeah.
So I hear that, and like I want to believe I can get there, like kind
You
of
can.
the way you did with your son.
Yeah. So hold up.
but
So hold up. I'm
and-
sorry. So you can.
Okay.
So if you want to believe it, you don't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I
So
don't.
do you believe that I believe it?
Yeah, I believe you believe it, and like the rest of us, sometimes you forget.
Yeah,
as you say.
right. Okay. So I just want to make that distinction, because how many of you are like, yeah, Jackie, I really get what you're saying. I want to believe that. Wanting to believe it is only the first minuscule step. Wanting to believe it is not believing it. Wanting to be pregnant is not being pregnant. Wanting to be a millionaire is not being a millionaire. Wanting to be something is not being it. And I'm pausing, Tom, because this is so important, because without the belief, the rest of it won't follow.
So, that was perfect. You really
Thank you.
hit on the crux of it.
Good.
For me. Because, well, I mean, as a therapist, you understand this stuff too. So with the relationships that I'm dealing with that are difficult for me, I have this traditional training. I'm not a therapist. I'm a doctor of physical therapy, but I've had lots of coursework on that psychological side of it. So these people I'm dealing, my traditional training says, well, they're personality disorder. They have these
So can you bottom line it, Tom?
Bottom line being, so what's true? That they're just disordered and I can't fix that.
Yeah.
Or I need to create this other reality in my mind.
Right. Yeah. So, I'm not going to get in. So I was a therapist for 30 years. I have a whole teaching on this whole realm of psychology that I'll say just a couple bits about today. But fundamentally, what you have to understand is that the whole field of psychology was developed before we understood the magic of neuroplasticity. So psychological theories were developed thinking that your brain is formed and developed, and that's what gives rise to your behavior by early to mid-childhood, right? So all of the psychological theories, with maybe a few outliers of positive psychology that's a little bit more contemporary, but the body of the psychological work was built on something that was fundamentally not true. Your identity is based in the past, this happened, therefore I am, is not true. So, now, and everyone in our culture believes that it is. So if you believe that it's true, then it's true. I'm talking capital T truth, small t truth. It is not capital T true. What science now clearly shows is that you can, in fact, change the structure and function of your brain, therefore your behavior and emotions, through self-directed neuroplasticity, which means using your mind to change your brain. I'm going to show you the 3-step process that will, hands down, teach you how to do this. It is so freaking simple and so freaking difficult. The two do coexist. Okay? So now, the other thing that what most people do when they're in a situation, and this is exactly what I did last week with the situation with my son. I was all over there. And he's got this, and he's got that disability, and I have to talk to this, and it was all over here. I'm not going to fix, you are not going to fix, we are not going to fix anything when our focus is over there. They are not the problem. And I'd be like, yes, they are. You haven't been at my house. They're the problem. In my leadership work, I teach there are no difficult people. There's only skills that you have yet to master. Wendy, you've heard me say that before. Wendy used to hire me to do a lot of training, and still does, actually. I just did one for you online a couple weeks ago. There are no difficult people. There are only skills that you've yet to master. The skills that you've yet to master are your own inner development. If you're jacked up by a person or a circumstance, you're the one that's the problem. We all have circumstances. Whether or not you have problems is up to you. That is a critical distinction. So in the face of difficult people or difficult relationships, we all try to think like, and I did this too last week, I have to fix them. No, I have to create the inner development of self-mastery. How do I want to experience myself in the face of this, quote, difficult person? They're in your life because you've drawn them into your life. They're here for a reason. How are you guys doing? Good. So go to the third bullet point, because I want to say a little bit more about this. Spiritual living means living beyond the realm of appearances, not seeing your, quote, reality as the physical world around you, but as the cosmic or energetic field that you are constantly creating. It's a mouthful. It requires creating the energetic conditions in your life that lead to ongoing creation of your desires, resulting in ever-expanding good for yourself and the world. Okay? So I've got, literally, I could be here until tomorrow afternoon telling you stories about this. Creating the, what does it say, energetic field as the physical reality that you want to create. One of them, so I'm going to give you a few examples. So first of all, can you map the story about what happened with my son onto this bullet point? Right? So I was creating an energetic field of he's this and he's that and he's got this problem, I better talk to this person and that's like I was speaking the outer reality that it was the is reality. That is what's happening. He is this way. And when I realized that I was the problem because I was the one speaking that way, I shifted my energetic perception and started speaking and experiencing and feeling. I would actually go to bed at night, like literally so 3-4 nights in a row, I went to bed feeling afraid. Is he going to be okay? Is he going to do something to hurt me? The cat would jump downstairs and I'd hear a noise, like my adrenaline response. So 3 or 4 nights I was going to, and I was afraid. Then I had that shift, like clear and consistent commitment to creating my inner development. I'd go to bed at night, no. And it's, I love this self-regulated positive emotion. I love these geeky phrases. I am a science geek. Self-regulated positive emotion. So that's what I did. Now, the condition hadn't changed, but instead of being in bed feeling afraid, I would acknowledge, okay, that is a cosmic potential. In the realm of all possibility, my son doing something unsafe is one of those cosmic potentials. Yes? Is that the cosmic potential that I want to give my energy toward because my energy is creative? No. So what's another potential? That I could experience myself and him as loving. So I would lay in my bed and I would generate love vibe from my heart chakra. And I would feel it inside my entire body. And I didn't sleep much last week. So my entire body would be having this energetic experience, and then I would send that to embrace my son, and then embrace my spouse, and embrace our whole house. That's what I'm talking about, shifting the energetic conditions, not waking up the next morning and calling my best friend like, yeah, 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 and then he did this and blah, 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 and then shut up. That is not going to create the reality that you want. It's not fake it till you make it. Although if that's the level at which it resonates with you, that's fine. But it really is being the active creator of your life circumstances. I know you don't feel that way. You might not believe that you can do it. If you don't really believe it, just believe like, well, Jackie really believes it. That's enough, really, no kidding, borrow my belief. It is enough, so long as you follow through with the other actions. Believing somebody else believes it will be enough to carry you through. Yeah, Dina?
So, Jackie, I'm not going to say it's easy for you, but you've been doing this work for years.
Yes.
And so maybe you could talk a little bit about what it takes for somebody who's starting this work.
It's great.
In terms of dealing with the emotions they're having. For instance, somebody annoys you. You have a sense of justification about that. You have a sense of being aggrieved that they're doing something to, it takes a lot of turnaround to actually overcome that, to be able to get to the place where you're just consciously choosing the vibe you want to have.
The vibe that you want to have,
Because you have to give up a lot of stuff
Oh,
that
yeah.
you feel really
Justified about.
to do that.
So great, Dina. I love that. Anybody else have that same question? I just want to get a sense from the room. Okay. So yeah, that seems like that's easy for you, Jackie. I won't say that. So again, just to back off this a little bit. So how many of you others have this question? Because I want to decide how much time I spend on it, seeing how relevant it is to the room. If you're just starting out, what did it look like back then for me? So some of you knew me back then, but let's say, so the last time I was on antidepressant medication was 12 years ago. So 12 years ago, just to give you a sense of the time frame of it, 12 years ago I was wrapped in depression, I was wrapped in addiction, and really questioning my value and my worth, to say the least. Anyway, so what happened around that time, and I was coming to church here, it was such a blessing to be a part of this ministry. I got involved in the ministry, I became on the board, and I don't know, I think I was board president 12 years ago, whatever. I remember saying to Shipley, if you want a board president who's having a spiritual meltdown, well, that's fine with me. I was so spiritually mature. Right? So really, I want you to get, that is the consciousness that I was living in. So the game changer for me was, it sounds like an infomercial, but it's not. It was writing the life design course. And the goal of the life design course is you end up, it's actually not, it is designing your life, but it's designing your etheric nature. It's a course to really help you understand what consciousness is and how to have that be your individualized experience. Knowing who you came here to be, who you are, rewriting your identity, not based on the past, but on the I am presence that you are and were born to experience. Does that translate to people? So what you end up with at the end of life design is the I am experience of who you are, who you came into this world to be, identifying as that, and then creating a life to go out and fulfill on that. It's just a game. It is a complete game changer. It was writing that course that had me give up my psychotherapy practice and, cut off my freaking income stream. That really helped my depression. Not. So, I remember, going back 12 years ago when I was on, before I'd gotten back on antidepressants, I would sit on my couch at night and I was just crying, talking to Heather, and I was like, I know what I'm supposed to do, but I'm not well enough to do it. But I didn't know all of this. I didn't know all this brain science then. But what I did know is that God wanted to express through and as me in a higher way. And what I said in the talk this morning, that day that I sat in this sanctuary, and Shipley said, if you bring forth that which is within you, it will save you. If you do not bring forth that which is within you, it will destroy you. And I really felt like that's what was happening to me. I felt like I was being destroyed. That sounds kind of dramatic, but it is what it felt like to me. And I knew at that point that I had to really commit myself to being a spiritual teacher and speaker and author and that whole field. And I wrote the life design course, and I've been teaching it for 12 years. I say that the life design course is what got me off my antidepressant medication, and my Calming the Chaos course is what got me off my Adderall and ADD medication. Love that shit. So, you guys with me? So what I want you to do right now, because I'm saying a lot of really important things, and it's a little bit conceptual. So I'm just going to take like 5 minutes and have you, so for those of you who are online, you can do this with somebody in the room with you, or you can do it in writing. But what I want you to do is actually map on what I'm saying into a situation in your life with a partner. So what I mean is, yep, oh, mean, yeah, chat. So the online people can write it down. You guys get to actually talk to each other like a real human being. So what I mean by that is you're all having circumstances and situations in your life. So I want you to map onto it. How are you talking about it? What vibratory pattern are you creating? Right? What's your emotional field about it? So just start getting present to it and identify it, and then be like, okay, well, what is the next thing I could do? And then I'll come back, Dina, and say a little bit more about kind of the earlier steps of how I did this. But you cannot change what you cannot see. Some of you have heard me say that only 1,000 times. You cannot change what you cannot see, so you've got to really look. So you just heard me, the circumstance was, either my aching body, not my aging, my supple body that I'm working on getting stronger every day and more flexible every day. That was one. Another one, situation with my son where he's this and he's that and he's got this problem and that problem, to how do I want to experience myself? More loving, less justified in my anger, because that was not the experience I wanted to have. So those were my examples. Look for yourself, because knowledge makes no difference. I don't want you to hear just my ideas, my thoughts. You've got to put it on your life. Okay? So if the situation in your mind is like too personal, just go ahead and say it anyway. Yeah, that's how we roll around here. Yeah, just puke it up. And just, because, that's part of the problem. We all walk around with like we have this odd, this was in my talk and I forgot to say it. These are the outtakes from my talk. We have this odd relationship in our culture with our inner world, where on the one hand, we kind of have this culture of drama and trauma sharing, and if you have more than a 2-minute exchange with somebody, it goes down to like what's not going so well about life, right? It's very, very common. It's kind of what we do. And yet, there's this way that we're very private about kind of my own insecurity. 80% of our thoughts are in the lower vibratory pattern, but we don't want to say that. We don't want to share that with people. And what that creates is this kind of inner paranoia of like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? I should be more like that. What's wrong with me? There's nothing wrong with you. You're just not trained yet and masterful about how to manage your consciousness and your energy. That's it. That's the only difference. And listening to me talk about my circumstances is going to mean jack shit to you. You got to map it onto your life, your circumstances, and you got to tell the truth. Okay? So I'm going to give like, probably 5 minutes isn't probably enough. Let's say like 8 minutes. So you'll each have about 4 minutes. And just bullet points, guys. Like, here's a situation. Just puke it up, man. Here's a situation. Here's how I've been relating to it. Man, I really see what she's saying. Here's what I've been creating in the energetic field. Here's how it feels. And then that question, how do you want to experience yourself? Okay? So match up with a partner. Come on up over here, and there's, just do the 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Yeah, I'll give you a time to switch. Just join a threesome or something. Join a threesome. Nice, yes.
steps I can do to, I have to be honest with myself. I have certain goals that I'm not reaching for some professional goals because I'm staying as a fear situation. The fear vibe is like beyond radius.
Right. Yeah, so, the only thing I can think of is, like, I'm on this board, and we're facing and I
Yes.
said, getting together, do you have that conversation? I said, one of the reasons I feel
No, it's internal dialogue, and I trust, and it's easier to just, and I think that some,
so do you have any beliefs?
this is the first time this is something that I do often. I think if it's not, what can I do to change that? That was the first time I ever did it. I didn't try to change the situation.
That you would
I
fail
tried to
again?
find what I like.
Feel like failure?
It doesn't, that was the first time I took a chance.
Because you say you blame yourself, right? So do you feel like, what's the point of trying again if it's gonna fail?
Well, I'm not somewhere, I'm paying a certain amount of money. It almost felt like you were doing
language around fortunately.
Okay, switch if you haven't switched. Switch to the next partner. And you guys that are in the threesome will have to be a little bit quicker. Switch, switch, switch.
Like for me, it's work situations. No, work. I mean, I think that's the thing that's crushing me right now is work. So I'll try to give a backstory really quickly. So I worked for a big company that sold the division that I worked in to another one. And so we've been working for the last year and a half to try and get our systems that we're going to teach off of our former employer and onto our new employer. Like our servers, our connection, like our team sending files to our customers, or sending reports to our customers. And you have to get all that connectivity changed from here to over here. Yeah, so, and I'm failing, my team is failing, and we have 3 weeks left, and there's no way we're gonna get a switch. And I'm like, we're in tears every day. And it's just like my personal, everybody's stressed out. I like because I should have seen it months ago that we needed more help, then I should have said something. And now we're down the wire, and there's no way we can finish. And it's gonna, no, I mean, quite literally, there's nowhere there's gonna be consequences. I don't know what those consequences are gonna be like.
Okay, start wrapping up with your partner. Okay, come on back. Is that helpful to kind of have a few moments to really apply it to your own situation, your own life? What opened up? What did people see out of that little brief share?
A lot of pettiness.
A lot of pettiness, yeah. Yeah, so I want to come back to that. So I'm here from a couple. Like, what opened up? What did you see? Yeah.
Well, I've struggled with my critical mind.
Yeah. The degree to which you struggle with your critical mind? Yep. Are you going to say that's what opened up?
I mean, I already
Here.
knew I had a critical mind, but
Okay. That wasn't news to you. It's on.
it's on.
Yeah.
But by describing the struggle I have, I felt like the criticalness in my mind was a flood, and that I'm living in a constant war with putting my finger in the dike, trying to hold it at bay,
Yeah.
trying to be loving,
Trying to be loving. Yeah.
wanting to be loving, and having to deal with the constant criticism that comes there, and having to, of course, not wanting to say it, but not really wanting to be thinking it.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so just by saying it, it just brought it into more crystal clear
Yeah.
relief about how that battle goes on for me
Yes.
inside. on a
Okay,
regular basis.
so how many other people can relate to what Zahava said? Look around. Zahava said. So look around, Zahava. You are so not alone. So this is part of the opportunity for us as spiritual beings having a human experience. We think, it's me. I have this critical mind. I have this. It's not personal. That was one of the things that helped me shift. I was a therapist for 30 years. I heard thousands of hours of people telling the same story. I'm not good enough. What if they find out? Am I lovable? And it had different, but fundamentally, if you boil it all down, like we're all struggling with the same things. So even that's one of the things that really helped me, is to stop personalizing that I have this issue. But I'm glad that it became crystal clear for you. And what you can do then is that's your opportunity to move it to the next level through practicing some of the things that I'm going to teach you today. So what Dina said is the pettiness. I want to come back to that, because part of what you have to give up in order to start living the truth of your spiritual nature, being a spiritual person, having a spiritual experience, what you have to give up is your human nature. You have to give up your ego's tendency to want to be right, to want to be justified, to want to prove a point, to want to get your own way. When that is what's living you, you will not elevate your consciousness back to the divinity from which you came. That is a spiritual being having a human experience. Yeah, I understand these principles and all that, but you don't understand. But this one is really, no matter what it is, no matter how ugly it is, no matter what, I'm a spiritual being having a spiritual experience. That means the pettiness, the littleness, the worry, the self-criticalness. All of that becomes secondary to my commitment to living a spiritual experience. So let's get into some of the how-tos, shall we? Anything else that people want to ask or say after the share? Yeah, okay.
So we jump in if I'm misrepresenting you, but I feel like we both got to the point where we realize we're stuck in our suffering because we feel like we deserve it.
Yeah.
We feel like we had this failure, and now we kind of deserve it, and we didn't get to the part where we kind of were able to move through it.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. You got to see it. So, gosh, I'm so glad you're here today, because I have something super important to tell you. That's not true. It's not true. See, the challenge that we've all have, and how you move from having a spiritual being having a human experience to a spiritual being having a spiritual experience, is the first thing you have to do is recognize that what you think isn't the truth. Be careful not to believe everything that you think. It's just not true. It's just the crap in your head. It's just what you think. Be careful not to believe everything you feel. 10 years ago, when I was still struggling with major depressive episodes, one of the things that would occur to me neurologically in my brain is I would have intrusive images of self-harm. Trigger warning. I'm going to say what it is. Does anyone not want to hear it because it's ugly? If anyone doesn't want to hear it, turn off your camera. Okay, no, she's just moving the camera. Okay, so I would just have these intrusive images, not like I was suicidal, but I would see a gun going to my head and pulling the trigger. And I would just have that intrusive image. Like really, no kidding, driving down Route 9 in Framingham, I would just be like thinking about the next thing I had to do and not feeling so good, and I would have that image. And I would have that image, and I would have that image, like repeatedly, several times a day. That's how sick my brain was. See, the brain is different than the mind. This is what you've got to understand. My brain was having neurological responses because I was having depressive biochemistry in my body. That biochemistry created electrical impulses that creates thoughts and feelings. They weren't true. Thank God I didn't believe it. Like, pull off into the gun store and like, oh, here I go. I never did that. I never went that far. Because at least on some level I knew, like, that's not true. I don't really want to die. I'd like to feel a little better, thank you very much, but I don't really want to die. So I'm really glad you guys are here. Because feeling like a failure, sure, been there, done that. Hold up. How many of you have felt like a failure? A lot. Yeah, okay? So, like, really look around, human condition. The only shift for you is to recognize that, and I deserve it, or even that I'm a failure. You're not a freaking failure, you're here. What have you failed at? And by the way, in my life design course, one of the things I always say to people when we get to the vision aspect is if you're not failing on a regular basis, you're just not playing a big enough game. So you failed a lot? Yeah, baby. Good for you. I want to be on your team. Right? So we have to start distinguishing, and this is the first thing that what science tells us right in the middle of your page. There is a difference between your mind and your brain. Your brain is the organ, and I love some of the newest kind of spiritual neuroscience that's saying that the brain is actually the filtering mechanism that allows cosmic consciousness into your experience. It's a voltage regulator, right. Your brain is actually a filtering mechanism. But your brain is just the organ of your body's functioning, like the eye is the organ of vision. Really, it's the same thing. It's an organ that helps your functioning. Your mind, however, I love in Unity, we teach the mind idea expression as the Holy Trinity. Mind being the mind of God, idea being what you receive when you're connected in your spiritual realm, and then expression being the life that you create because of it, the thoughts that you create, the feelings that you create. Mind. So using not your local yama mind, not that one, because that will tell you all that. I'm a failure and I kind of deserve it. That's what your local yama mind will tell you. Using mind energy, the mind of God, which is high vibratory thoughts and feelings. All right, maybe I'm a failure and a loser, but today I'm going to love myself. Just for today, just for this hour, just for this minute, I'm going to bring love to myself. I'm going to bring love to other people. Just for today, I'm going to say, and here's another one. I love this. I've been a failure at everything I've tried up until now. Because in each now moment, we have the opportunity to reinvent ourselves. So I've been a failure up until now. Anything more you want to say about that? Okay, so I have so much more I want to say. Yeah. Is there somebody online that wants to say something, or is it you? Oh, you're just moving the camera. Okay, great, thanks.
A phrase that I've used a lot with myself is because you say, the way I am, I'm up, this, whatever. I say, up to this point, this is what I've known myself to be, a person who can be angry. I've known myself to be a person who can be petty to this point, because then it's the possibility of anything after
anything
that.
After that. It's beautiful. Peter?
Yeah, I just wanted to say what came out of the exercise.
Yeah.
Noticing that situation regarding my house and whether I might prepare it for sale and so on. There is a lot of focus on what I don't want.
Yes.
And a lot of worry that it might happen.
Yes.
And also there are a lot of thoughts of the form, I can't.
Yes. See? See? Like, that's it. So for those of you who are like, yeah, except for my mind, like, Peter's a pretty good guy. Been around this church for a long time. He's a spiritual leader. He's amazing. And that's what he's got going on. That's what I had going on. Like, it's not you. It is not your individual personal failure. It's not. So the first thing you have to recognize is that there's a difference between mind energy and the brain. Your brain is going to say all kinds of things, and your yama mind will as well. How you rise above that is the second bullet point of recognizing that you are always being lived by your emotions, your thoughts, your beliefs, and attitude. The quality of your life is contingent upon your level of consciousness. So I always say in life design, you are always being lived by something. And most often what people are lived by is just the most basic level of being, which is just pure emotion. I'm just lived by, like, I feel like it, so I'm going to go do it. I don't feel like it, so I'm not going to. I like them, so I'm going to engage. I don't like them, so I'm going to step back. Like, just like emotion, which, by the way, is the lowest form of living. Being lived by just your emotion. I'm a failure and I don't deserve anything better. When you're lived by that, what's the experience? When you're lived by that.
Just end up making your life kind of really small.
Yeah, you make your life small by doing or not doing what?
The things that you might care about, because it would hurt too much to fail at it.
Yeah. So I'm not going to try that. I'm not going to try that. I totally get it. Just this week, one of my life design coaches got on the call with our other coaches, and she said, yep, I'm so proud of my daughter. She just went through life design, and what she said, and she decided to go back to grad school. And when I asked her why she decided to go back to grad school, what she said was, because I never believed in myself until doing life design. And then I realized, you know what? I can have that too. I always thought getting that kind of a degree or doing that kind of work was for other people. Now I realize I can have that too. Like, she was the same human being. The only thing that shifted was what she was saying to herself and where she focused her identity. Her identity was like, I'm not one of those, because of whatever she thought of herself. And now it's, I see possibility for myself. That's the shift that we're talking about. So you've got to see that you have to rise your level of being. So I have like a way of being inventory that maps onto my level of consciousness inventory that I want you to look at. So when you're being lived by pure emotion, do you have a sense of what I mean by that? Right? It's a lot of what we've been talking about so far, okay? Reacting. So what's the next level of being that I teach that can get you out of that is, what they call in psychology just rationalization, or what we call in neuroscience self-directed neuroplasticity. It's using your intellect to talk back to the negative emotion or the lower vibe emotion to neutralize it, mitigate it, elevate it. So using your intellect to talk back to your lower vibe in order to change it. We're going to go into a little bit more how to do that, but that's the next level of being. And wait, it's so much better when you get really skilled at that. And you're just kind of like noticing your emotion, but you're able to kind of shift shape it and change your emotion, and you get really good at that. What happens is that a whole new level of being starts to be present, where you kind of have this sense of inner wisdom and inner direction. That's I call being the intuitive realm. You're not so much holding back because you're afraid, and you don't have to work so hard to like talk back to it. You're just kind of wiser, more connected, more confident. And I call that realm, that level of being lived by your intuition. You don't have to think as hard. You don't have to work as hard. But there's still this way that it's not the highest level of being. The highest level of being that I like to teach is just pure knowing. That you don't have to talk yourself out of it. You don't have to remember. You don't get distracted. You don't forget. You are in that essence of just pure being. There's a lot you want to do, but there's nothing you have to do. Sell the house, keep the house. Sell the building, keep the building. Because what you become present to is life is happening through you. And the more that you are a clear channel for life happening through you, meaning you're a clear channel when all of that yama emotion and mind is no longer present. So how do you do this? So on the next model that you'll see there is what I call my vibe model. Love this. It's the 4 levels of consciousness that's in every single thing that I teach, no matter where I go and what the topic is, I find some way of getting this in there. Parenting workshop, good, let me teach this. Volunteer training, here, let me teach this. Yoga class, here, let me teach this. Yeah, the words are a little bit small, sorry about that. So at the very bottom level, let's start at the bottom, you'll see that it says survival on the right-hand side. And on the left-hand side, it's apathy and resignation. So when you're living in the lowest level of consciousness, being run by emotion, what you're experiencing then is just like life is hard and just screw it. Yeah, right? There's a real recognition over there. Like life is just hard, just screw it. So therefore, I'm not going to try because it's just too hard. And there's just a sense of apathy and resignation, and it's just hard. And if you notice in the middle, you can't actually see it on here. This is on my Facebook page called The Vibe Tribe, this model, if you want to go find it there. And the middle of it, it says it's fully outer. So life is hard and it's somebody else's fault. The problem is out there. The husband, the spouse, the kid. That's kind of where I was at last week, right? So then if you come to a workshop, you go to AA, you see a therapist, you actually can transcend that like it's hard and screw it. And then you get into the stress level of consciousness where, yeah, it's hard, but I got to work hard. I got to keep up. It's where most of our culture is living, kind of right high level 1, low level 2, where it's just really hard, but I'm going to work hard. These people aren't actually at the higher level of level 2, not so bad to be around, because they're hard workers and they're committed, but the fundamental energy is still life is hard. This is where the majority of mainstream America lives. So when Carl earlier was saying, like, I get distracted, and I said, you don't get distracted, you get taken up in mass consciousness. This is the mass consciousness that we are living in. It's the ocean. And what I want for you is to be that bucket, that we can pull up your consciousness and clean it up, and then look at the higher levels, transformation consciousness, where you're filled with compassion and clarity and commitment and hope and optimism. That's actually how you are living, filled with those experiences, knowing that that's yours to do. You're no longer in the sense of life is hard. It's just like life is. And I am. And then the highest level of consciousness, what I call transcendent, living a transcendent life. Unconditional love, peace, joy, equanimity. So our work as spiritual beings, having a spiritual experience, is to shift from the lower vibratory patterns to live in the higher vibratory patterns. So, does that make sense? See yourself on this model, right? I teach this everywhere I go. I say that our purpose in life, I teach this in my life design course, in our life design course, your purpose in life is to grow in consciousness back to the divinity from which you came. And what I mean by that is to grow in consciousness back to your divinity, from your human experience to your spiritual transcendent nature. So how do you do that? First of all, create your identity based on your highest self, not on the past. Well, how do you create a new identity? Well, you've got to determine and discern who you really are. See, when you don't have a deep inner knowing of who you are, you will be identified by mass consciousness, the culture we live in, and your past failures, your past upsets. That's what will be your identity. You cannot create a transcendent future living in a survival identity. You can't. Go back to that quote by Nikola Tesla. If you want to understand the secrets of life or the universe, think in terms of energy and vibration. It's the energy of the thought and feeling and belief world that is creative. So how do you get out of that? So you change your identity. I'm going to hand out a sign-up sheet for anybody that wants to talk to me about the life design course, because it really, like, that's what saved my freaking life. Now, look, I know I wrote it and created it, so it should have saved my life, but I've just seen it work in thousands of people's lives at this point. Some of my coaches are here, some of my graduates are here. And I now have devoted my life to training people to teach other people this so that it lives beyond me. So I have a sign-up sheet here for anybody that wants to talk to me about that, or if you want to just be on my email list, I'm going to pass that around. Because, I mean, I can't tell you in an hour how to do what we do in a 20-hour or 30-hour course. But fundamentally, it is changing your identity, your I am statement. I am a failure. I am not good enough. I am self-critical. As long as that, I am old. I am stiff, right? I am so worried about him. As long as that's what you are creating, that's the out-picturing that you're going to have. If I kept saying, hey, I'm so worried about him, I'm so concerned for him, I'm worried about our future, this is not the kind of parenting I wanted to have, this is not the kind of family life I wanted to have. If that's where I was putting my energy, that goes out to the vibratory pattern. Think in terms of energy and vibration. That's what's creative. It's creative with the big stuff and it's creative with the little stuff. I'm a basketball player. I played in Massachusetts on the Massachusetts Miracles women's basketball team. Yes, it's a miracle that we are still playing basketball at our age. And I went to DC, I've moved to DC, and I play with Northern Virginia Rapid Fire. We don't do anything very rapid at our age, but that's okay. So I play on this basketball team, and they're called Rapid Fire because they're like badass good shooters. These gals, they're not actually very good ball players, but damn can they shoot. So I start playing with them, and all of a sudden I got a little intimidated, and my shooting percentage tanked. And I was like really upset, and I was, right, so what do I start doing? They're not gonna want me on the team. I'm not gonna be able to play that much. I'm not really bringing anything to the team, right? I'm up here teaching this stuff. This is what's happening in my inner world, right? So what happened to my shooting percentage when that was my inner dialogue? It's like, okay, is this the experience I want to have? No. How do I want to experience myself as a basketball player? How do I want to experience myself as a teammate? Well, I want to feel capable, competent, contributing. I want to have fun. I want to feel good about myself. I want to feel skilled. So instead of bitching and moaning about it, I started saying, I love shooting. I love being a basketball player. My knees are great. You can be like, oh, my knees are too stiff. I can't do my... Shut up. So I changed my inner dialogue. I used spiritual power of imagination. We're going to get to that. For about a week's time, my shooting percentage went from about 9% during my games up to 33% in a week's time. And it's continued for the last 3 weeks. 33% shooting from the field is not so bad. Now, you'd be like, Jackie, seriously? But look, guys, if you can't master the little stuff, you can't master the big stuff. And I'm using that other example, a basketball example, to show that when I say a clear, consistent commitment to your inner world development, I really mean everything. So basketball, like, who really cares? I play basketball. Okay, I care a lot, actually. I play basketball 3 times a week, and I just love it. I love being competitive. I love being a good shooter. I love being on the team. I love everything about it, right? But if you can't master the little stuff, like what you do for fun, you are not going to master the big stuff, like those difficult relationships. And you have to be practicing this everywhere. You having issues with your car? You don't like your car? Are you saying crappy stuff about your car, or are you saying loving stuff about your car? Your neighbors? You saying crappy stuff about your neighbors? You know, like every single area is my point. So, create an identity not based on your past. Wendy, I'll give this to you, and then we'll just pass that around. So you just sign up for that if you want to hear from me about anything, and tell me what it is that you want to hear from me about, but particularly about the Life Design course. Secondly, oh, I love this, consciously employ the spiritual power of imagination. Does anybody know what that means? Consciously employ the spiritual power of imagination. Okay, good, Peter, I know you do. Yep, sort of, a couple of you, 3, 4 of you. So it's one of the things we teach in Unity, and I'm going to teach you how to do it. It's super, super easy, and it's so important because energy and vibration is what creates. So when you have something that you want to create and manifest, what happens is that when you think about the thing, you think all the reasons why you can't have it. Rather than thinking what it's going to feel like, what it's going to think, what you'll be thinking, how you'll be feeling, and what it'll be like when that manifestation is complete. So in the spiritual power of imagination, you determine what it is that you want to experience and create. So let's just say my shooting percentage, okay? Or your next house, the thing that you want to experience and create, and then you go to the end. What are you actually going to do or say and feel when that thing is complete? And then you relax your mind, you bring in a high level of belief, and you start creating that is that exact thing. So let me tell you, I wrote a program called the Money Vibe Challenge, 30-day Money Vibe Challenge. And the first time I did my own Money Vibe Challenge, before I even wrote the actual challenge, I took on that I wanted to create $10,000 in the next 30 days. I had to remember because I've done about 5 or 6 of them now. My first one was $10,000 in 30 days. And I was going to use the spiritual power of imagination as a way of bringing forth this $10,000 in 30 days. So the manifestation image that I used in my mind was my family in the kitchen, high-fiving each other when my $10,000 came in, and then doing a butt wiggle happy dance together. So when my son was this a few years ago, my son was younger, we would like do this thing where we get together and we'd be like, woo, butt wiggle happy dance, and we would like do this thing. Like, I can't believe that's now on the ethers on the internet. All right, but we would, so I took on doing this 30-day challenge of manifesting $10,000 of unexpected income over the 30 days. And then I had a memo pad in my phone, and I kept track of it. And the energy that I did this experience with was enthusiasm, excitement, expectancy, actually generating the experience that I wanted to have. Well, my business went into absolute flood. I had more work than I knew what to do with, referrals coming from everywhere. But it was so cool because I'd come home at night and there'd be like a $14 refund check from Verizon. I'd be like, woo, $14 refund check, right? So every single thing, that is the spiritual use of imagination. See how I'm managing my energy around the manifestation. Holly, you had a great,
when I did the
30-day Money Vibe Challenge.
22 hours after starting that.
Here, hold on. Let me give you that, because people on live stream can't hear you.
So she told us to pick a number, and I said, okay, $500. Within 22 hours, I got a check in the mail for $500. I immediately called her and said, well, I don't really feel right about how it came to me. And she goes, you absolutely are gonna
No, you said, should I send it back?
Yeah, should I send it
I was
back?
like, hello?
So I cashed it, and I sent a letter to where it came from, and I said, thank you very much. I've just been doing abundant work and started a 30-day challenge, and that you sent me the exact amount that I was looking for.
Right? It's extraordinary. It's amazing how it happens. And it starts with you being, first of all, getting clear on what you want. Okay, if you want the actual steps, get clear it is on what it is that you want to manifest. But you can't just be like, oh, I hope it works out. I want to believe that that's going to happen. You actually have to generate, like, woohoo! And like, who cares if it doesn't? Say you've got a goal of $1,000 over the next 30 days, and you only end up with 500. Isn't that awesome? Say you want to have a new love relationship, but you just end up going out with some new friends. Isn't that cool? Right? When I first, I have a summer home in the St. Lawrence River. I'm from the Thousand Islands region up in the St. Lawrence River. It's way, way, way up in northern New York on the Canadian border. And I lived there my whole life. I grew up there. And then I moved to Massachusetts, and I really wanted to have a waterfront home. And so I was living in Westboro, and I was like, oh, I really want to have a little lake house or something. I want to move it by the ocean. So, I was kind of seeing it and kind of creating this in my mind. And I moved to this apartment on Pond Street in Natick. I was on Pond Street, and I was like, yes! I was creating the field for that manifestation to come. So there was no water. There was a pond, like, go down across there and go 2 blocks over and to the left, and there was a pond, right? But I was like, yes! I'm approximating my goal. And then the next place I moved to was on Quinnipiquin Road in Newton, and it was across from the Charles River. I was like, yes! I'm approximating my goal. This is awesome. I love this. The next one I moved to was a lake house in Marlborough. I rented there for probably 10 years, and then I bought one right across the lake. About 4 years after that, I bought one up on the St. Lawrence River. I now have 2 waterfront homes. October of next year, I'm buying my next door neighbor's house up on the St. Lawrence River. How? I have no idea. But I didn't know how I was going to buy this first one. I didn't know how I was going to buy the second one. It's not like I've got $500,000 sitting in the bank waiting to be like, spend me, spend me. I don't. And initially when we decided that we were going to, it was my great aunt and uncle's house, and my neighbor lives there. You're so sweet. You're up there this summer. Lisa came to visit me up there this summer. Go to my Facebook page. You'll see all the pictures. Anyway, so initially when my neighbor said that he wanted to sell it, I was like, oh, my initial reaction, right? Notice this is self-management. My initial reaction was like, oh, shit, I don't want to go through that again. It was so stressful when we bought our summer home the first time. I didn't have the money for that, and we didn't know where it was going to come from. But we were fine. We were actually fine. We rent out our lake house so that we move up to our river house. It was actually fine. And I had that like, energy. And thank God I teach this stuff. Because what do you think my next thought was? Right, I did this to myself. Is that what you want to experience and create? How do you want to experience this? So I worked with myself for a day, 2 days, no, I'm going to do this with the energy of enthusiasm, excitement, and expectancy. I went to bed 2 nights later and I said to Heather, I have something, Heather's my spouse, I said, I have something I want to tell you. She's like, yeah, what's up? I was like, we're buying the house next door next summer. She's like, yeah. So I just wanted to tell you, I want us to have the cash in hand ready to buy it by next year. She's like, okay. Okay, now look, are we going to? I have no idea, but who cares? Who cares? Because me setting that intention and then creating the energetic field moving toward that is going to be a whole lot more fun game than I hope it works out. I hope I can do this. Is it going to be okay? I did that one before, I don't want to do that one again. That's how you generate energy. You make a declaration, and then you create the energy going toward it. Look, I don't know what's going to happen. Have me back next October, I'll let you know. But what I do know is that anything is possible. And so now the question, how do I want to experience myself as the person buying the house next door? Do I want to experience myself as a stress bag? Upset? Worried? Lack? Hell no. How do I want to experience myself? Confident, fun, light, engaged, wealthy. What the hell? Spiritual power of imagination. See what you want, make it into an affirmative statement, see the end in mind, close your eyes, quiet your energy field, generate the feeling that you'll have when it's completed, and see some kind of a visual, a high five, a fist pump, a butt wiggle, happy dance. All right, you don't have to do the butt wiggle thing. That's a little bit too far. Yeah.
How often do you recreate that?
Every day. Yeah, before I go to bed at night. So right now, that's when I generally work on 2 or 3 at a time. I don't recommend that you do that. I would start with something small. The Money Vibe Challenge is a great training ground for this. So if you want to sign up for the Money Vibe Challenge, it's free. It's on the website, moneyvibemethod.com, and you can sign up for it. Now, it's about money, but it's the perfect training ground for how to generate this energy. That's why Nancy Langmeyer wants to write one about love. Isn't it cool? Thanks, Jane. It was Nancy's idea. I can take no credit for it, but whatever. She loved it because she kept doing the Money Vibe Challenge, and her business just took off. She did it again, she did it again, she did it again. Oh, and by the way, for me, so I did the Money Vibe Challenge. I ended up with the 10 grand in 30 days. And I was like, oh, I'm all that. I'll triple it. I'll do 30,000 in 30 days. Failed entirely. My Money Vibe wasn't a $30,000 in 30 days Money Vibe. I did not have that consciousness. Did it again. I was like, all right, I'll do 20,000. I think I might have done another 10 one. I don't know, whatever. Process. I did one for 20,000. I hit 22. It's like, okay, good. My vibe's going up. Did another one. I said 20. I hit 27. Damn, getting pretty good at this. Next one I said 30, was $30,922 at the end of the month. It ain't so bad. My business is going well. Right? But it's not me. I don't want any one of you. Look, remember, this was the train wreck me 10 years ago, sitting on the couch crying with my girlfriend, taking all kinds of medication. These 10 years of yours are going to pass anyway. Are you going to have them pass the same as that? I shudder to think what my life would have been like. My poor spouse, she should have thrown my ass out. But it was through committing to these principles, living them deeply every single day, that had my life turn around. So let me give you something really super simple that all of you can do starting right now. One of the things that I do every morning when I wake up, because the remnants of my depression are still a little bit, had been, still a little bit in me in the morning. I wake up in the morning. So back when I was in those depressive days, I would wake up in the morning with the thought, oh God, another day of meaningless activity. That would be the thought that I would wake up to. Just my neurology. That was exactly what was there. Now, so when I wake up in the mornings, up until recently, I would still have some feeling inside of me. And I was like, screw it, there's got to be something. So I read this in the book Mind Over Matter by Dawson Church. Start in the morning, as soon as you wake up, before your conscious mind kicks in, just put your hand on your heart and generate that vibratory pattern of love. Send it to your day, send it to the people that you'll meet, the ones you know, the ones you don't know. Start each day generating the vibratory pattern of love in your heart, in your aura, in your energetic field, and then go about your day. You love that. Do you want to say something about it?
I'm speechless.
Okay. Had you heard it before or just this minute? It's so powerful. So any remnants of my clinical depression are just gone. Like I wake up so excited, I can't wait to start the day. And I can't believe it. You do too?
Yes, well, I do because I'm going to Sunrise.
Yeah, I know. You too. You guys are nice sunrise people.
We're the sunrise photographers, the sunrise people. Well, we go to experience the grace and the glory of sunrise. So I'm excited. I'm tired, but I'm excited on the way. But I love what you're saying, Jackie, because I do kind of have to push myself out of the bed.
Yeah.
Because I
It's
know
like,
what's
ugh.
to come.
Yeah.
If I can do this first, if this is my first breath.
Right? It's
That's it for me.
so grounding.
I love it.
Just put your hand over your heart and generate love. It's so healing. So it's a simple thing that you can do. And look, guys, if you are kind of back in that place, like you're one step away from where I was, that train wrecked me 10 years ago on the couch, if you're one step away from that, I'm not saying you're going to do that and you're going to feel better tomorrow. There are no quick fixes. There's a life of clear, consistent spiritual practice that will change your life. It will change your brain, it will change your neurological programming, and it will change your life. Your consciousness will rise. But you've got to get engaged with it. It's not passive. You know, I've worked with a lot of athletes before, and their bodies are like so amazing and so sculpted. They didn't just end up that way. It's a lot of work. So maybe some of you look at me and, you know, have a little bit of that, yeah, well, that's nice for you, Jackie, feeling in you. But I had to work at it. I'm so not one of those people that's like naturally happy. My spouse is, she drives me nuts. She's like happy. You guys know Patty Barkus? Passed away last year, singer here at our church. Yeah, we used to lament all the time that we're like kind of the, you know, grumpy, high maintenance people, and our spouses, her husband Jay and my spouse Heather, they're just like happy. They drive me nuts. I had to work at it. Now I can say I'm one of those people, but I really had to work at it. I had to overcome addiction. I had to overcome depression. I had to overcome PTSD. I had to overcome ADD. I had some really precarious neurology, but I've used my mind to train my brain. So let me tell you how I did that. I'm going to show you this three-step method that is so ridiculously simple that you will, the potential pitfall here is that you will say, well, that can't be it, and you'll disregard it. It is really simple. It is proven by science, and it can change and rewire your brain. The first step is what I call catch it. This is on your handout. You can take notes if you want as well. And catch it simply means observe yourself. See that crap coming out of your mouth. See that train of thought going right down the toilet, the way that it too often does. Actually catch it, right? That's the first thing. I had to catch it when I was saying that stuff to Nathan. And even to my spouse about Nathan. And even when I was catching it in the moment, there were times it would still keep spewing out of my mouth. Catch it. Thank God I teach this. Because man, if it weren't for that, I would have just kept spewing. Because that is the way it is. That's the problem. If you're relating to the way it is, you're going to be lived by that external condition. rather than creating the external condition that you desire. So the second thing is challenge it. It's a 3C formula. Challenge it. How do you challenge it? You say, is that really what you want to experience? Dr. Jeffrey Schwartz, in his step on this, he's got a 4-step process. He says it's error thinking. That's what Dr. Schwartz uses. He uses this to treat patients with OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. So the second one is challenge it. Is that true? Does everyone experience it that way? Well, no, probably not. That's my default thinking again. That's my error message. That's just my anxious brain. That's my belief in the past. It doesn't mean anything. Be careful not to believe everything you think. It doesn't mean anything. So you challenge it. You clear on how to do that? It's simply talking back to it. Use your mind to train your brain. Second step, you challenge it. Clear on that? Third step is you change it. So what kind of a mother do I want to be? I'm loving. I'm attentive. I'm creative. Not creative like in the artsy sense. Creative in the energetic sense. I am present. I'm awake. I'm aware. So you change it to answer that question. How do you want to experience yourself as? Whatever, fill in the blank. What are some of them that you've got in your mind right now? How do I want to experience myself as what? As a human, love that. As a homeowner, that's what's working for you right now, Peter, I get it. What else? As a writer. As a writer, good, Jane, I'm happy to help you with that. What else? Yeah. As a thinner person, yeah, absolutely. As a more fit person, as a more supple, strong person, yeah. What else? What, Linda? As a God. A God is absolute good. Oh, yeah. How do I want to experience myself as God? Beautiful. Love that. As the absolute. Holly, what's working on you right now?
As a therapist again.
Right. As a therapist with a bum arm, yeah. How do I want to experience myself as a therapist given that I have an injury? You know, how do I want to experience myself as an injured person? Isn't that an interesting question? Right? As an aging person. As an aging person. How do I want to experience myself as an aging person? I want to be vibrant. I want to be, right? Yeah. Instead of what? Not the hurt, not the pain. Not the hurt, not the pain, right. Not the opposite of what I said to the yoga instructor, right? She gave me the better language, right? So that's really it. So that 3-step process is how you use your mind to change your brain. It is super, super simple. This is not rocket science. What's the challenge, though? Is that you have to do this every freaking moment. You're not going to feel like it at first. You're not going to believe it at first, which is why it's so important that you kind of come back to me or Ogun or Shipley or some other teacher that you've had, Deepak Chopra, I don't care, and be like, yeah, but they really believe it, and they've demonstrated it. Because if I can go from train wreck Jackie that I was on the couch to the life that I'm living today, I mean, freaking anything is possible. Right? I mean, I was really a train wreck. I mean, you wouldn't have looked at my because I was board president here then, shh, don't tell anybody. So you wouldn't look at the external trappings of my life and think that, but yeah, it was train wrecky. Writing this spiritually oriented self-empowerment program while I was trying to survive my own life. But it was committing to that, living it every single moment. The last thing I want to say about it is that one of the things that will really help, that has been proven, scientifically proven, to change your brain is meditate. And I speak with people a lot about meditation, and people are like, well, I've tried that, but I can't meditate. No, that is meditation. Your mind will generate thoughts. For the most part, you will not be able to quiet your mind, maybe ever. I mean, I've been a pretty consistent meditator for probably 10 years now, and my mind is barely quiet. I meditate for about 20 minutes twice a day. I'm trained in transcendental meditation, but you don't have to be trained in anything. Meditation simply means closing your outer senses, focusing on your inner senses, and bringing your mind to a point of focus. It can be counting your breath. It can be repeating a mantra like love. One of my favorite ones is spirit in on the in-breath, ego out on the out-breath. Some of the latest research in neuroscience of meditation shows that even 1 minute of meditation several times a day changes your brain structure. 1 freaking minute. 1 minute of meditation several times a day changes your brain structure, helps to alleviate stress, alleviate anxiety, alleviate depression, and you probably even have better sex. That was a joke. 1 minute of meditation 3 or 4 times a day is shown to increase. People are like, oh, I try to meditate, I can't do it. No, okay, that is meditation. Well, yeah, I know, but I don't have time. 1 minute. Get to work before you get out of your car, set a timer, 1 minute, breathe. Drive home, get in your driveway, 1 minute, breathe. Pay attention. The reason it's so important, for so many reasons, even if it's not a spiritual practice for you, it changes your neurology so that when you're trying to practice this 3-step process, which is so crazy simple, nice little simple graphic that looks like an elementary school something, and it's super, super challenging to do, but what's going to make that easier is your ability to really focus in and observe your thoughts. Oh wait, I'm supposed to be counting my breath. 1. What am I supposed to do for lunch tomorrow? Your thoughts will be gone. Come back. The more that you do that and you get skilled at it, the more you'll be able to use some of these higher level catch it, challenge it, change it processes. Yeah, Dina? Yeah.
I just want to say about the catch it, challenge it, change it process that one of the things that I was particularly prone to is judging myself quite a bit for having the thought. Not praising myself for catching it,
Yeah.
but there it is again.
Yeah.
Can I get over this? Can I stop having this thought?
Yeah.
And I like what you were saying. When I teach, I say, just think of it as information. It's
good.
just information.
It's good.
It's not something, a point of judgment for yourself, because
good.
you're totally going to lose the benefit of it.
Yeah, exactly right. I say don't go level 1 on your level 1 experiences, right? So you're like trying to raise your vibration, and then you notice that you've kind of gone down that negaholic tunnel again. You're like, oh, what's the matter with me? Everybody is better at this than I am, and what's the matter with me, right? That's going level 1 about the fact that you're in level 1, meaning you're in survival consciousness, blaming, shaming yourself. Catch yourself, exactly as you said, Dina. It's brilliant. Oh, wow. There I am. Look at me. Look at me catching myself. Yeah, I got this. Look at me catching myself. Because we're so good at catching other people, aren't we? Oh, look at their consciousness. That was so funny last week, sitting there with those leaders. They're like, oh, Jackie, I'm so glad you taught us this stuff because I'm such a high vibe person, and I'm just like so passionate. But those idiots that come to work with me, and like, no kidding. I did this whole thing around what he had said and pointed to the thing on the PowerPoint, the vibe, and that's level 1 because you're externalizing and you're blaming other people. And I'm not kidding you. 2 seconds later, this other gal raised her hand and said the exact same thing. Yeah, I'm like him. I'm a high vibe person too. And it's just, I just can't trust anybody. So we got a little more work to do. But that's it, right? That's the human condition. I'm teaching this in front of 250 military personnel next month. Yeah, it's my 6th time to teach military leaders this consciousness material, and they love it. Do you know what I do? I make them meditate. I do. I don't just say, meditation is really important. I it's not. I start with it's not enough to know. You have to demonstrate, and that's my theme throughout, because they all know all this too, right? They know this. They know this. They know this. Yeah, they know everything. So, so then we get to meditation, and I say, I teach all the science behind it, why it's good for them and everything. I said, now, what do you think we're going to do? And they're all like, are we going to meditate? And I'm like, yeah, and they love it. They love it. Right? All right, so I am fairly complete. I want to wrap up by saying a couple of things. First of all, thank you. Thank you for your graciousness, your sharing, your willingness to tell the truth and be real and be authentic and be coached by me. Secondly, it is my mission and my passion in life to raise consciousness on the planet. And how I'm currently expressing that in a couple of ways. One is I train life design coaches. So now there's not just one of me. There are many life design. We have 27 life design coaches right now around the country. I've got one in Spain that's going to be coming into the community soon, so soon around the world. And it really is my vision that people become masterfully skilled at identifying themselves based on who they were born to be, raising their consciousness, changing your identity not based on the past, but based that the God self and God seed that's within you. So if you have interest in working with one of my life design coaches, you can certainly work with me, but I cost a hell of a lot more than they do. And my commitment, my passion really is to build my community of coaches. I'm really wanting to train and develop them so that we have an army of people out there changing consciousness on the planet. So please sign up for a time to talk to me about that. Or if you're interested in becoming one of my life design coaches and being part of the tribe, it is a delightful community of people. And you would be committing a part of your career to this. I say the best thing about being a life design coach is being a life design coach, because you have to be in it all the time. You have to be thinking about it all the time. You have to be saying it all the time. And some of you might be like, yeah, well, but I'm just not well enough for that. I shall remind you the condition I was in when I wrote the program and started teaching it, right? So I want to leave you with that. And then the last thing I want to leave you with, and then I'll take questions if you guys want to ask questions as well, is no matter where you are on this continuum, on this level of consciousness scale, right? If you're down here in this kind of survival mechanism, or if you're kind of up in these more transcendent realms, what I want you to know is that each minute is a new opportunity for you to know and express the truth of who you really are. Every minute is an opportunity for you to transcend into the divinity from which you came. And that's why we're here. That's our purpose. And when you know that and you design your life around it, it's just so rich and exciting and delightful. And that's my wish and my prayer for you. This has been fun. I hope you got something out of this. Anyone have any last questions that you want to put into the space? Peter, you want to say something? Yeah, sure.
A fun comment.
Good.
I was somewhere totally unrelated to this church.
Yeah.
Pulled into a parking lot and saw a bumper sticker that said, "Every moment is an opportunity for love and transcendence."
Really? I want that bumper sticker.
Wow, we have moved forward.
We have moved forward. Yeah. I love that. Awesome. So every moment is an opportunity for love and transcendence. Great. Let's close with a little prayer today. Just take a moment to feel the energy in the room, the energy around your heart chakra. Do you feel expanded? Notice that if your energetic field feels a little bit bigger than when you came in, maybe even the area around your third eye and the energy around your mind is maybe a little buzzing, maybe a little excited, maybe a little overwhelmed, but notice how you've had energetic shifts in just coming here today. My prayer and my commitment was that each of you grow in consciousness just by being here and being in this conversation today. So we say thank you, God, for the shifts in consciousness, growing more fully into our transcendent self, into the divine that we came here to be. We know and affirm that we can. Right now, we are changing our beliefs, changing our emotions, elevating our attitudes, elevating our thoughts, so that we experience and express the true one nature that we are, our God self on earth. We affirm moving forward from this day that we take this energetic vibration of love and possibility and transcendence and oneness, and we bring that forth to all the people that we meet this week, seeing ourselves a little more clearly, a little bit more into the truth of who we really are, and bringing that torch, that light forth so that others can also see. That's our commitment and our prayer, and for that we say thank you, God, and so it is. Amen. Awesome. Y'all look so, you look so happy here. So thank you for being here with me. I've got this sheet here. If anyone you want to talk to me, I will stay for as long as you'd like. And just to remind you, if you want to do the Money Vibe Challenge, it is free, and it's moneyvibemethod.com. And you just sign up for it. You get an email from me every day with a daily action, intention, and affirmation. And you stick with that for 30 days, holding this intention for how much unexpected income, or how much love, or what new job, or what new house. You can really do it for anything, but money is cool, and people like to think about having more money, right? And you do that process for 30 days. It is, and this is what Nancy Langmeyer said to me, it is a perfect training ground to teach people how to manifest anything. So Nancy was the one that saw that it would be a perfect book for love. So I'll look forward to that. All right, so I'm happy to stay here and talk with all of you this afternoon, and I'll be in touch with those of you that want to talk with me. And thank you. I will see you next time. All right, bye-bye, everybody. You're welcome. Thank you.